Hi, it's Trevor Smith with Coldwell Banker Select and Smith Team Luxury Real Estate. I'm also the president of the Incline Village Realtors at Lake Tahoe. And I'm here today with Erika Lamb. Erika is the broker owner of Welcome Home, which is, I think, primarily property management, right? Is that, I want to make sure it's everything.
It is
Okay.
everything, yeah.
Okay, and she's also the current president of the Reno Sparks Association of Realtors. So this is one of the, actually the last interview we'll be doing for association presidents this year, which is awesome. I'm so thrilled you're able to join me. I know you're busy, so I won't take a lot of your time. And but I know that you have lots of things going on in your market. I figured our viewers would probably be interested in hearing your perspective as president, one, and two, as obviously an active broker, and you do a lot of things. You guys do sales, you do property management, so I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. Obviously, you're just over the hill. Our markets are probably very different, right, in a lot of ways. And you know, you probably, I think you're even working in our market too. So, but I'd love to hear your perspective on where things are as a president and as a broker owner. So.
Well, thank you, Trevor. Thank you for the introduction. And when you said I'm over the hill, I thought, oh, wow, really? Uh-oh. Not yet.
Down the hill is
I
what I
hope
should have
not
said.
yet. So we work in 3 different markets. We work in residential sales, we work in residential property management, and we also work in some office commercial.
Okay.
And, you know, I can't speak for the entire association, but overall, as far as our real estate market is doing, our median price is at its highest price at the moment. It came up about 1% from last month, which was $416,500, which is probably nothing for your area, but for us, it's a pretty big deal. Of course, days to market were about 39 days. It was
so that's still really short, right? I hate to interrupt you, but that sounds super short to me.
It is super short. It used to be around, I think 54 days was previously our shortest.
Okay.
But the average was about 60 days.
Yeah.
So yeah,
right.
It's going pretty quick. You know, just like nationwide, 98% of homeowners are staying firm on their price. They're really not lowering the price as much. And keep in mind, as I'm going over these statistics, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the single family homes in the Reno Sparks area. The condominium market actually saw a slight dip in their price.
Okay.
I don't have those numbers on me right now. But I mean, it's to be expected just because so many of condos are tenant occupied. And as you know, the governor has said, we cannot show any tenant occupied properties. And just to piggyback off of that, I think one of the reasons that we're seeing an increase in prices is we have such low inventory. Our inventory is 2.2 months. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but about 50% of our homes in the Reno Sparks area are owned by investors.
Wow, that's a big number.
You had investors who were planning on selling their properties this year. Unless you have a tenant that willingly volunteers to move out, you cannot give them a notice to vacate. And there's 2 reasons you can't give them a notice to vacate. You have the eviction restrictions that are put out by Governor Sisolak, and then you have the CARES Act, which was in that stimulus package. And the CARES Act actually prevents you from giving notice or an eviction up to 120 days, which will not expire until July 27th.
Yeah.
Our market peaks in May, June, and July. And so homeowners will not be able to get tenants out to sell their properties until after the peak of the season. So what does that mean? That means our inventory is going to stay low. And our options, you know, for home buyers are going to be very slim. And that may mean a continued steady price or increase in price in the area just because of what the government has done. It has some repercussions on the market.
So you have, obviously, we have very different markets. Obviously, we're a second home resort market. I didn't realize, and I should disclose, right? I'm a member of your association, so a secondary member. That doesn't mean I know anything, though. You know way more than I do. That's very interesting, though. That's really surprising. So 50% investors, boy, this is, an interesting lockup of inventory really on that side for those people trying to sell those properties. Let me ask you this, because this is something we're experiencing. I'm just wondering if it's the same for you. Okay, so now you can't show the tenant occupied properties. How is the buyer activity? I mean, have people done the workaround and done the virtual showings? I mean, is any of that working? Are those generating escrows and all that? Or is it slowed down as far as buyer activity, and that we're living on last month's deals or the month before or whatever?
Yeah, I think and it is interesting because some of our buyers actually, at least in our office and through our board of directors who have had transactions that have closed during this process, we had our marketing company called Abbey Agency go and interview those buyers who are closing on a transaction completely virtually, means they've never seen the property. And their initial reaction is when COVID-19 first became about, they were intimidated and scared and nervous and thought maybe they should just wait. Then as they continued to follow our market and notice our prices were continuing to increase and our options were continuing to decrease, the ability to be able to find the right property was becoming slimmer and slimmer, at least at getting it at the price that they hope to get it at. So we noticed that as buyers are coming to realize that if they are planning to purchase a house this year, now is the time that they need to get moving, because we're not expecting a lot of inventory this year. It would be great and it'd be nice. But I've had realtors call me and brokers call me and say, hey, we got a property, it's supposed to close this week. And it was tenant occupied and the tenant refuses to move because of COVID-19. What can we do? And I'm like, you can offer them cash for keys. That's where we're at.
Interesting. So from the REO days, it comes back, cash for keys, except with a different use.
Yep.
But still trying to get people out. So, along those lines then, so it sounds to me like your market you think is going to continue with low inventory. Maybe people are doing this entirely virtually if they have to. And so you probably see more of the same then from what you're saying.
Yeah, it's slowed down. Work is different. I've noticed that the realtors who had a lot of experience, who already had that customer base, are still staying busy. Some are even busier. And when I say busier, it's not necessarily that they're doing more transactions. It's that to help that transaction flow, the work process takes longer because we're doing so much that is virtual. Mm-hmm. For instance, I have a listing and I have 3 different types of virtual tours on it. You've got the 3D tour, you've got the 2D tour, and then you've got the one where you're walking through the house with a camera, just so that you can provide a method to the buyer on the other end that's going to be comfortable for them and as much disclosure to them as possible. Then I know myself, I have one client who's in contract and went into contract last week. They live out of state, so they were planning on coming here to look at houses. Instead, I went and did a video, and I was going to upload that video to Dropbox. We avoid YouTube now because some people have problems with the YouTube, or YouTube downgrades the quality. So we just take that entire video, we'll put it into Dropbox or Google Drive, send them the link. And right as I get done videoing a house, the listing agent calls me and said, oh, by the way, we just got an offer and it expires in 4 hours. Is your client going to write an offer? I'm, of course, rushing to Starbucks, trying to get on their Wi-Fi so that I can upload this video to Dropbox, which still took 45 minutes. They were kind enough to wait. They got in their offer and they're in contract now. But, It's just one of those things where, if the client were there, it'd be so much easier, just like pull out the iPad, draft up the offer. They're able to sign it right there on their phone. And a 1 hour process would have been 15 minutes. So.
Yeah, so it's a different world. Are you hearing things like, what are your agents? You and I both have, obviously, the complaints come up to the president at some level, whether they're handled by your association executive, et cetera. What are the things that you're hearing? What are the problems that people are having, the agents and brokers in your board? Where are they, where are they having issues? What's the
trying to sell tenant occupied properties?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And so you have a considerable amount of that. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
in our market, it's jumbo financing, right? Jumbo financing is a mess. So.
I've got some great lenders to recommend.
Perfect.
If you need some recommendations.
Yeah, plug them. Go ahead and plug them.
Yeah, I
Please
know
do.
that. I believe Umpqua Bank is doing jumbo loans, and Nevada Federal Credit Union is doing jumbo loans. And then Welcome Home Funding is doing conventional along with a second.
Okay.
As an interest only, which I'm sure you're familiar with those as options. So.
Well, the issues we've been having, Erika, are, there's a lot of war stories, but it's changing terms. So you get approved. Oh, wait, we don't like the interest rate. Oh, wait, we're going to change the term of the loan. Oh, we're going to change, this. Oh, we need $250,000 deposited in our bank. Just make up something crazy, and that's what they're doing to us. And so when you get those kind of overlays, most smart buyers say, yeah, okay, we're just going to wait. We're not going to do this. I'm not saying it.
The rates are just so good right now.
Well, they are, except in jumbos. I just had one that was quote unquote approved at 6%, okay, which doesn't sound good to me, and 30% down. So, the problem we have is, our average home for the last 2 years has been over $1.5 million. So that pretty much means you're doing a jumbo loan if you're going to get financing. Hey, 37% of our closed transactions are cash, which is great, but we're talking about 2/3 of the buyers now may or may not have an option depending on how strong their investments are, or, relationship is with a bank, and this is all part of, and you can tell, obviously, they don't want to lend money when things are iffy, right? If things look doubtful in the near future, then banks start to really do crazy things. And I'm not saying that I blame them, but it is frustrating. So anyway, but enough about us.
Well,
So
Trevor, I don't think it's going to get any easier for a while.
I'll totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. It's not, the certainty will not be there until it happens, right?
Well, I think the certainty is more likely to be there when those forbearances have recovered. So you have a large population that is doing a forbearance at this time, and it's just my opinion. But I don't think until those forbearances have expired and those loans have been recovered in full, and they don't have to go through loan modifications or foreclosures, I think that's when they'll start to go a little bit back to normal. But until then, until that risk is calm, or at least till the storm passes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Let me ask you another, and this might be related to your investor buyers. Maybe, so where are the opportunities going to be in your market? What do you see? Are there places that you're looking, or places that, where's the money going to go? Because I think this is what it feels like to me. A lot of people are going to exit California. Maybe they're going to do it for primary, but you talked about investors. What are those people are going to do?
Interesting enough, a lot of the investors that seem to move to the Reno area or purchase in the Reno area are investors who are hoping to retire here. So their ideal retirement home is going to be a 3 to 4 bedroom plus single level in a nice clean neighborhood. With California, you get the ones who really want the very tree-lined streets. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if they're coming from California, they don't like power lines, they don't like septic, they only want regular sewer. They don't like the oil tanks.
Yeah.
That's all associated with the neighborhoods that have the tree-lined streets. So I find that majority of the time they end up moving to the South Reno, either far west or southeast.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you wanted to share with us that would be relevant either to the real estate community or, for that matter, I guess a member of the public that might be watching this? Is there something, you know, that you're thinking about or working on that would be of interest?
Well, I'm going to offer another perspective to what I said earlier regarding, if you recall, I had mentioned that sellers want to sell their property, but they cannot because it's tenant occupied and a tenant refuses to move. On that same page, if you are a tenant and you are occupying a property and your lease is ending, they can't be pushed out. And the reason I say that is because majority of these people are living off of unemployment, and because they're living off of unemployment, which only has about 2.5 months left of that CARE stimulus package bonus, they're not able to rent another property. So if that seller does push them out, they're likely pushing those people out to the streets, even if they're making the money and are able to do it. And so if you think about, I always have to look at both sides. You know, I have just personally told my investor clients, you know, unfortunately, this is just what it is. It's better to just wait a year, lease your home, don't get greedy, you know, don't raise the rents, don't charge them ambiguous fees just because, and let's all get through this year together. Let's all stay healthy, and let's just take care of each other, you know? I mean, it's the best we can do for right now.
That's really sound advice. Well, I'm sure, you know, we're landlords too, so, you know, fortunately our tenants are paying, but we're flexible. We're very flexible, right?
Yeah.
Within reason, I'll do anything I have to, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what you're saying is have some compassion, you know, appreciate people's situation, right?
Yes, yes. You know, we're doing lease renewals right now on, we manage about 120 properties. And this is all of our leases for our company end between March and July.
Yeah.
So it's a mad dash rush to do inspections and do some kind of lease renewal. And typically what we do is if they don't renew their lease by the end of June, we give them notices to vacate. It's just how we do it so the home is occupied during the winter. This year we've been doing renewals virtually using Zoom, which is kind of interesting. And for the most part, you know, our biggest thing is to make sure there's no damages to the home. They're not beating it up, and then, you know, we'll go ahead and get their updated insurance and make sure they can stay where they're at least for the next year. And if they choose to do something else later, that's fine. But that's how we've kind of been handling it. I know a lot of property managers across the nation have decided not to do any lease renewals right now because they can't raise the rent. And so they want to wait until their government restrictions are lifted before they renew those leases so they can raise the rent. And I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
It's just a year, you know? So that just goes back to my point of let's just all be compassionate and empathetic and work with each other because we're all in this together.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your perspective. I thank you for your time, Erika. You are a very compassionate leader, and I think Reno Sparks Association of Realtors is lucky to have you there. I appreciate the help that you're giving the people that are watching this. And if they want to reach out to you, we're going to put all of your contact information in the comments, including your email and phone number and website. And Thank you again for the opportunity. And we'll say the same thing to you. Stay safe, and we'll get through this. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.